Is it recording now? We're recording now. Okay, I have 6:30 on my computer. Go ahead, call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I realize now that the clock here's faster than this, so I apologize for that. Prior to this meeting, we had an executive session where we discussed real estate, personnel, and legal matters. I want to remind everyone that this meeting was advertised in accordance with Delaware County policies and that this meeting is being recorded for the purposes of minutes as well as streaming online. I will move to the approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from our regular meeting on April 8th, 2025.
Second. Motion made by Supervisor Iacono, seconded by Supervisor Derhanessian. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Treasurer report, Mr. Bars.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I hope you got an opportunity to take a look at the report.
Peter, is that light on?
No, now it is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hope you've had a chance to take a look at the report. Just a couple items to note included within the report. We continue to maintain a very healthy cash balance township-wide in all of our accounts. As of the end of April, we were at $7,282,000. 1 year ago, April 30th, 24, we were $5,969,000. So we're up 1.3 million in all of our accounts township-wide. Our general fund, just a note, I had distributed amended or altered treasurer's reports. I noticed that there was an error. I do apologize for that when I was doing the final review. And the previously stated unadjusted net income for the 4 months on the older report of which actually showed a loss of $29,000 roughly, is actually a $338,000 profit. There was an item that was recorded as a transfer, a $368,000 transfer that actually should have gone against an asset, an exchange account, which is a balance sheet account, wasn't actually an expense. The expense had been recorded previously, once the exchange was recorded. So I just wanted that clarified for your edification. So we're in good shape in the general fund. Our income does reflect a little bit of $30,000 negative variance. We budgeted $1,533,000. We received $1,502,000. Part of that is a Greenway grant. We budgeted $160,000. We thought we'd have that in yet, but that has not been received.
It's in now, though.
It's in that. We did get that in.
Yeah.
Okay, the
It just
177
cleared, I think she said.
today, I
Today,
think, right?
yeah, yesterday, yeah.
Good. That'll be reflected on our next, on our May's report. Our expenses, we're holding the line of expenses. We budgeted 1.3 million. We actually have 1.1 million in total expenses in the general fund. So we're very solid. We're almost $200,000 under budget there, which is great. The trash fund, which is one we always have to keep our eye on. We're holding our own. Our net income for the 4 months was 839,000. We budgeted 727, so we're actually almost $112,000 over where we thought we'd be based upon our budget. And part of that's our net income over budget of 20, and our expenses, we're holding the line on expenses of $90,000, showing a positive variance there, which is a credit to the staff. So with that, I conclude my report.
Thank you, Peter. One question on that line item where there was an expense.
Yeah.
Originally, do you know where that was?
Yeah, it was all the way at the very, very bottom. Yeah, it was transferred to EMS. It was 492,500. It was like the very last section of the last page. The original report you guys had like a $368,000 amount in there. That was actually should have affected the balance sheet.
Yeah.
And not an expenditure. We'd already recorded the expense when we booked the liability to the EMS fund.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
To 500 transfer to EMS fund?
Yeah, that disbursement on the original report was inaccurate.
Is there any other questions for Peter? I make a motion to accept the treasurer's report, pay all bills, and release all relevant escrows.
Second.
Motion made by myself and seconded by Supervisor Hernessian. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to taxes. During the month of April, there were 136 invoices collected for 2025 taxes. The total tax collected for April was $118,144.06 and was remitted to the township in one installment on May 4th, 2025. As of April 30th, 2025, 3,337 tax bills were collected out of 3,577, which is 93.29%. And that's all I have. Is Mr. Pasha here?
Sam, when you're running late, Mr. Chairman, I don't see him in the audience.
And I don't think there's anything more to add then on the tax report. Moving to public safety.
Chief McCarthy.
Chairman, Supervisors, good evening, everyone. For the month of April, 2025. The police department answered 926 or had 926 calls for service. They are broken down to 68 medical emergencies, 2 burglaries, 20 alarms, 72 traffic stops, including 46 citations. There were 9 domestic related calls, 6 crashes, 6 thefts, 4 fraud investigations, 6 other criminal investigations, 447 building and development checks, 24 vacation checks, 7 suspicious vehicles and persons, and there were 2 municipal ordinance violations and 207 miscellaneous type calls. Over the past week or so, week and a half, the township has been hit with a couple of instances where we have had vehicles that were left open. Those vehicles were unlawfully entered, and in some cases, there were some items removed. We are have an ongoing investigation going with Aston Township, Upper Chichester, the state police, and also a couple of our law enforcement allies in the state of Delaware. There was an arrest made down in Newcastle County after a vehicle pursuit was involved down there. So we are heading up a criminal investigation into some of these. I cannot stress it enough, please lock your cars. These people walk down the street in the middle of the night. Typically so far, it's been between about midnight and about 3 a.m. They walk down, they come up your driveway, they try your door. If the door's locked, they move on. They are not breaking windows. They are not using Slim Jims to get into your car. They are merely trying the door handle, and they are finding the cars are unlocked. Once they get in your car, they're only in there. We have a couple of videos that a couple of the residents have shared with us from some Ring cameras and some other stuff. They are in your car for less than 90 seconds. And they are gone. If they see a car, any headlights coming down the street, they hide. And as soon as the car goes away, they emerge from the bushes and they go about their happy business. But they are not, the stress I want to make to people is they are not breaking into cars. So please just lock your vehicles. I can't stress it enough. You know, we have had a total of about 11 so far in the township. We have been putting some extra patrols out. We've adjusted some schedules to try to have an extra car out on between those hours. We are, as you can tell from my report, 447 neighborhood checks. We are hitting the neighborhoods hard between those hours. They're just, they're very elusive. They're very hard to find because they see us coming way before we see them. So, but we are diligently working on it. And that is all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
We have a proclamation for Police Week. So a proclamation of Bethel Township, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, declaring May 11th through the 17th, 2025 Police Week. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as Police Week. And whereas the officers of the Bethel Township Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of the township. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And now therefore Bethel Township does hereby proclaim May 11th through May 17th, 2025 as Police Week.
On behalf of the police department, thank you very much for recognizing us. We do appreciate your support.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
And then I think we have a presentation from the Garnet Valley Neurodiversity Support Group to the Police Department.
Just 2, I think. Okay. Yeah, I think we're good to go. Is this on? Okay, fabulous. Good evening, everyone. My name is Akash Jayaprakash. You can call me AJ. You never have to say that again. I have been a resident of Bethel Township since 2017. I will be blunt. We moved here for the schools. I'm about to tell you why, and we absolutely have found more than that in our time here, and it has been wonderful. I'm here tonight as a member of the Garnet Valley Neurodiversity Support Group. I'm also the father of an incredible 11-year-old boy named Aaron. We usually call him Bug. So if you hear me talk about Bug, that's who I'm talking about. Bug is autistic. He is nonverbal. He has not said a word since he was about a year old. That does not mean he's quiet. That does not mean he's not full of life, thought, and personality. For the first 8 years, we really didn't know what was going on with him because he couldn't tell us. And then his speech therapist at Garnet Valley told us that he had begun typing on an iPad. I was skeptical at first, but when he did it in front of me, I was ugly crying. It was wonderful. It was a life-changing moment for all of us because we learned what he had been carrying and thinking inside him that whole time. Being the parent of a kid on the spectrum is very challenging, logistically, emotionally, everything you can think of. Autistic children experience the world very differently. They hear lights, sounds, speech, and they may react in ways including yelling or running. Bug took off in February 2020. He was 6 years old and he went right out the front door. And I want to really commend Bethel Police because the first call I made was to 911 and said, we have, a little kid on the loose. I don't know what he's wearing. He won't talk to you, but he's somewhere on Woods Edge Drive. And we found him very quickly. And I just want to express my gratitude for the compassion and care and urgency that the police showed us. As I was sitting there hyperventilating, they calmed me down, they made sure he was okay. And I didn't for a moment feel like any of us were under scrutiny or threatened. Their primary concern was making sure that he was safe. And ever since then, I have felt that much safer in this community, and it's just been one less thing to worry about on a very full plate. I also want to briefly express my gratitude to the school district. They have been our partners and the partners of many of the special needs parents in Bethel for all these years. His teachers, therapists, the administration, they have all believed in him and stuck by him, helping him to communicate all this time. And he is able to write poetry now. There's a video, I think, on YouTube somewhere of his teachers just, crying as he has his iPad robot voice read a poem to his 4th grade class. Never thought that day would come. We have a long way to go. As I said, he is nonverbal, but he is not quiet. He still has trouble paying attention in class. He doesn't take off anymore. At least he hasn't, thank goodness. But if that day comes, I am confident that our community will stand with my family and be able to help us. And I can't emphasize how comforting that is. When you worry about your kid's future and you think what's going to happen when I'm gone, what's going to happen in the year to come, knowing that your community stands behind you is an incredible gift. And I thank everyone here for that. I'd like to turn the time over to my longtime supporter and friend, Erica Brignac, to speak a little bit more about our partnership with the police. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Erica Brignac, and I'm a Bethel resident and the president of the Garnet Valley Neurodiversity Support Group. I'm joined here today by our treasurer, Nicole Creeley of Concord Township, and of course, our member, Akash Jayaprakash. Thank you so much, Akash, for sharing your story. Our group's mission is to support and advocate for education and services for neurodiverse families in the Garnet Valley School District. We are a community of over 175 families working to support each other, enrich our children's lives, and promote awareness and acceptance in the broader community. Originally founded in 2009 as the Garnet Valley Autism Support Group by Concord resident Dawn Hoyt, and continuing in 2014 under my leadership, the organization has offered monthly in-person meetings for parents and caregivers, free enrichment activities and private pool parties for families, partnerships with Bethel HSA to bring Kimochis into school counseling departments, speaker events like Michelle Garcia Winner and her social thinking curriculum, collaborations with the GV Special Education Department to provide monthly speakers on key topics, including executive functioning, anxiety, sensory processing, financial planning, and transition after high school. During COVID, we broadened our focus and became the Garnet Valley Neurodiversity Support Group to better serve families with a wide range of needs. To join us, please visit our private Facebook page, facebook.com/groups/GVNSG. Last month, in honor of Autism Acceptance Month, I reached out to Vice Chair Stephanie Dorohanessian of the Bethel Board of Supervisors, who also serves as liaison to the Bethel Police. I proposed a partnership to better equip first responders for interactions with individuals with special needs. I was thrilled that she immediately and enthusiastically said, "Let's get this done." Thanks to the funds we've raised, our neurodiversity support group has purchased 10 Carter kits, sensory bags, one for each Bethel police vehicle. Carter kits were developed by Detective Justin Severs and neuropsychologist Dr. Ellen Preen, both parents of children with autism. Each bag contains a weighted blanket, sunglasses, noise-reducing headphones, 24 sensory toys, a nonverbal cue card, and access to virtual training for first responders. You can learn more about the kits at carterkits.org. We thank Supervisor Dorohanessian for championing this initiative and Chief McCarthy for embracing it. It's our great pleasure to donate these Carter kits to Bethel Township today. Thank you.
Yeah, I think so. Mike, you know how it is. You're welcome.
I'm trying to even this up.
You got everybody in one thing?
Yeah. There you go. Come on in. Okay. You ready? On three. 1, 2, 3. 3, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Now I want everyone to jump. 1, 2, 3, jump. No. Okay, thank you.
A little bit good though.
I think that concludes the police portion.
Yeah, that's a fantastic conclusion. Okay, with that conclusion, Supervisor D'Agostino, Bethel host.
Who's a report? You got Frank had a report tonight now?
Good evening, folks.
Good evening.
For calls for service for April, we had 45 calls. Year to date, we had 190 calls. In Bethel Township, we had 2 fire alarms, 9 EMS services, 1 motor vehicle accident, 1 building fire, 1 natural gas leak, 1 carbon monoxide alarm, 1 residential rescue, and we had one pedestrian struck. Mutual aid assignments, we had 26. We had 9 to Concordville, 3 to Tallyville. Excuse me, 1 to Lower Chichester, 5 to Upper Chichester, 6 to Claymont, 1 to Mill Creek, and 1 to Marcus Hook. We had 3 drills for the month. We have our carnival coming up next week. So everybody be aware of the carnival, bring the kids up, the grandkids, yourselves. It's from Tuesday to Saturday. So hopefully Mother Nature holds out. This week would hurt us if it was this week, but hopefully it holds out for us for next week. And I also want to word of advice, we had a little bit of rain this week. It's helped moisten things up a little bit, but it's still dry in the woods area. So if you're doing any open burning, just be very cautious with it. We're in the process of working on a burning ordinance. We'll hopefully control it a little bit better for us. But until then, just use caution in any open burning, whether it be a fire pit or brush or anything like that. And also one thing, discarded cigarette butts. We had one house fire in the township that did damage to 2 units. It was caused by discarded cigarettes. So just be aware of what you do with your smoking afterwards. Make sure it's disposed of properly. So other than that, everybody be safe and have a good month.
Thank you, Brett. That's all I have.
Thank you. Giovanna?
All right, the EMS report for the month, there were 61 calls for service. Riddle answered or Mainline Health answered 48 of them. 35 were ALS calls, 13 were BLS calls, and then there were 13 mutual aid calls. With regards to the emergency management report, our emergency management coordinator has been working with us with the emergency declaration due to the Crozier Hospital closing. He's working on the Delco Alert Notification System class for the township, and he attended a FEMA exercise and evaluation. That concludes the emergency management report. I will move on to facilities and maintenance. The highway report for April, crews went through the township and put down cold patch where needed, cleaned the gutters along the roadways to allow for better drainage, repaired the generator for the cement trailer, serviced several police cars, installed a bracket on the landscape trailer, cleaned all the areas where they cut grass of any debris from the winter, started grass cutting and trimming, helped the Parks and Rec Department with the Easter egg hunt, completed 12 storm drain maintenance repairs, and repaired the hydraulic leak on truck number 3. Buildings and grounds report, the doors have been completed on the Myers building. They're waiting for the weather to be good to be able to paint them. The annual inspection was done on the fire extinguisher in all the buildings and vehicles. They cleaned all the gutters on the campus, trimmed several dead limbs off of trees around the campus, and had the dead trees removed from Jack King Park. That concludes the buildings and grounds report.
Thank you, Giovanna. On to the Parks and Rec Board report. The board report today that's in the packet was developed by our Parks and Rec ambassador, Zoe Madron, and it was a summary of the meeting minutes. There are 2 ambassadors for Parks and Rec board. It's both Zoe and Lane Darhanessian, and they're going to help assist in the activities and the execution of the events that board serves. The topics that are in the packet, the first is the Songbird Garden. That was a grant fund that was approved in the previous meeting. So now that board is organizing a time to establish that garden, lay out a time for preparing and doing the edging and planting required. They're also in development of the events right now between events. The next one coming up is July 3rd fireworks display, but there's planning underway for the corn boil that's happening on August 24th. Also, something new that we're doing, that board is doing this year is event sponsorships. So they're having local companies, donating money so that they can have advertisements at our events, and it's helping to offset some of the costs that we're seeing from inflation, general uptick in cost for putting on these events without having to necessarily dig too deep into our general fund to pull those events off. The other thing is we still do not have a chair of the Board of Supervisor, I'm sorry, the Board of Supervisor, Parks and Rec Board. For the Parks and Rec Board, so we're still looking into that group to see if someone can step into that role. But it's just a little bit of a challenge to not have somebody in that role doing the liaising with the township office. And that concludes the board report for Parks and Recreation. Sorry, excuse me, next to be zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board had 3 items on the April agenda. The first was a side yard and rear yard variance request in order to permit an existing detached garage to be connected to the existing dwelling. That request was granted with conditions. The second item was a request to allow wall signs to be enlarged from 25 square feet to 37 square feet, and the height of a ground sign to be 6.22 feet in lieu of the permitted 6.6 feet at Twin Tails Veterinary Hospital. This was granted. Lastly, a request for a gazebo to cover an existing hot tub was granted with conditions. The next meeting will be held on Wednesday, May 28th at 7 p.m. And at that time, the board will be considering the following variance request. It's an application to extend an existing deck and construct a 256-foot open air gazebo with 14 feet in height. Applicant is seeking relief from the township code that states an accessory structure cannot exceed 200 square feet and cannot exceed 12 feet in height. And that was respectfully submitted by Gary Linehan. Do you have anything to add?
That covers it there.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. On to planning.
Planning Commission did not have a meeting this month. It's been a quiet couple of months, so I don't think Lou minds too much, but
Right before the storm.
yeah, probably. That's usually what that means. So we'll see if anything comes up for next month. But no reports from Planning Commission.
Thank you. On to sewer. Supervisor D'Agostino.
Yes, Bethel Township Sewer Authority met on May 1st. Some of the highlights of the meeting were the Power Road pump station upgrade, looking at a fall 2025 installation time. Pump station generators, the authority received a grant from Rescue Clean Act to install 4 new generators. They're looking to go through co-stars for the bidding process. And then they applied for a Commonwealth Financial Authority grant application for the Scotts Glen sewage pump station. Anything else, Tom? That concludes my report.
Thanks. I do have a question. Is the online payment still, are we still able to do online payments? It is, okay.
Pat, I apologize for that. Pat forgot to put the notice on to the bottom of the statements. They will be put on there permanently.
That's great. So residents are free to go ahead and pay as they had.
I've gotten close to 40 so far this time, so we don't usually get more than that. It's the same people that do it.
Thank you.
I apologize for missing that.
No, all good. I just want to make sure we're good to go. Thank you. Okay, on to the school board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The high school will host a mock crash event on Wednesday, May 21st. The senior class will view the mock crash presentation in the parking lot. The scenario will be presented by 6 to 8 students from the drama club and 2 professional actors as the parents. The incident will involve 1 fatality. I went to this last year. It was extremely moving and hopefully convinces kids not to drink and drive. Involved in it also will be the fire companies. Our Bethel Township's fire company will be involved, Mainline Riddle EMS, and our police department will also be at the event. Also, as Chief McCarthy mentioned, an email from the school went out about the thefts in the area. Make sure you lock your car doors. A student's laptop was taken out of one of the cars, so that's, I think, a lot of why the school also kind of got involved. So lock your doors. And that concludes my report. I'm going to throw it to Leah, the junior supervisor, for the junior supervisor report.
Hi, I'm Leah Consiglio. I'm the junior supervisor for this year. So you can go to the next slide. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So looking back at April, there was a lot of stuff happens during the springtime because the weather starts getting nicer. So we had our junior prom at Springfield Country Club, which was very fun. The drama club, the GVPAA, they got 15 nominations for the Independence Awards, which are a Philadelphia-based like award thing for the drama departments across the Philadelphia area. And there was, I think that's a record. And there was one Jimmy Award nomination, which is a national recognition of Garnet Valley's department, and that was of Jeannie Epler. And then moving to the music department, all of our ensembles have had their spring concerts, so that was a good celebration. And 5 students were recognized in all states ensembles, which is also a record. So that's many students recognized across the state from Garnet Valley. There was many academic competitions this past few weeks. TSA, which is a technology students association, Science Olympiad, and Youth in Government all came home with a bunch of awards. You'll see some pictures in the next slide too. We had a nice spring break, which is definitely good leading up to all of our testing, which we'll get to soon. And we had our celebration of the arts. So a lot of those students, it showed off all the AP student portfolios across for our seniors, as well as many other art pieces from our other students. So if we go to the next slide, you can see a few of the art pieces, as well as pictures from all the competitions. In the bottom right-hand corner, that is, there are 5 students that got recognized for all state ensembles in the music department. And Brigadoon was the show that was nominated for all of those GVPAA awards. Okay, going to the next. So in May, we have a lot happening. Seniors are definitely getting ready to leave. It's very apparent. So the senior trip is later this month, and decision day was May 1st, where everyone wore what college they were going to and what their plans were for after graduation. You can definitely see in the seniors' faces that they're ready to get out. But this past week and this upcoming week has been a lot of testing. So we had Keystones today and yesterday. So that was mostly for freshmen and sophomore. There's English, math, and science Keystones. And then everyone else in the school is kind of taking their AP testing. So Garnet Valley offers many AP classes, and those tests, those exams are these past 2 weeks as well. So I know I have been studying my butt off for them. So the school is very quiet most of the day, quieter than normal because everyone is testing, but they are going pretty well. So that's good. And prom is coming up at Drexel Brook. So I know the seniors are excited for that too. Our little Jags had their are graduating. So that is a program where we have a class for career development, not career development, oh my God, for child development where our high school students can interact and babysit essentially a daycare for our little Jags. So like toddlers and things. And they have their own little graduation May 22nd. And each year they do like handprints on the wall for each little graduating class. So we started to see those out in the hallway. Staff Appreciation Week was, I think last week, maybe the week before, losing track of time because of all the testing. So I know all the teachers had, I think they had some food stuff and there was a lot of appreciation going around. So thank you to all of them. And the primaries are coming up. And one thing I was really happy to see is that Interact Club, which is a volunteer opportunity for students at Garnet Valley High School, they were promoting working the polls for primaries. So you can get service hours as high schooler. If you're 17 or older, you can get service hours by working the polls as a 17-year-old. So I know I will be there and I hope to see more of my classmates there too. Okay. So the Pennington Project, this is the big thing happening at Garnet Valley right now. Every day I drive in and I look to my left and I'm like, wow, there's so much happening because I used to park there last year because I recently got my license and you didn't need a parking spot to be there. I mean, you didn't need a parking pass to park there. So I'd park there, it'd be crowded, it was insane. But now it's like completely gone, which is insane. They're working on it every day, 8 a.m., like they're all working out there. So it's crazy to see. The QR code down there, that is the website that they have giving updates about this project. They have timelines, they have financial resources, they have frequently asked questions. So all the information that you really could want is right on there, which is great. And that's all I have for you guys. Thank you.
You as a supervisor are always outside this all. Report for always much better.
Telling jokes.
Are we, if
Go to
we're
the
done?
library report.
Library, sure.
Yes. So the library report for May 2025, Rachel Cole Library bid farewell to Susan Sternberg, who was the director. She retired on May 2nd. She led the library through a remarkable period of growth and innovation. Her dedication brought about an expanded and modernized facility, and her passion for community engagement led to a rich variety of youth programs, strategic partnerships, and strong relationships with patrons of all ages. They are deeply grateful for her leadership and wish her a joyful retirement. They also now welcome their new director, Raina Whitwright, who joined the library team on April 14th. She comes from the Newtown Public Library, where she served as a circulation manager. She brings a unique combination of public library experience and a professional background in the corporate sector. And they look forward to the insight and enthusiasm she brings. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. And Dr. Addison, we talked, I don't believe you have a manager's report this month. Okay. Thank you. So that concludes our reports. No old business. We'll move into the new business. Oh, I'm sorry.
Gary Lighting at 1334 Hey.
No roads are going. I don't know.
I know it's weird without us. The room looks so much bigger.
It's the mic. Thank you.
I just want, if I may, just back up a little bit. Chuck, you said at some of our events, the vendors will be allowed to advertise requesting. Would that be advertising one day only, no signs, everything? What I'm getting at is I hate to see any of our parks, especially baseball field across from Bethel Springs, turn into an Upper Chi baseball field. So I'm just saying that advertising be removed the same day or the next.
Correct. Yeah, it's day of signs. This event was put on in conjunction with these sponsors. I believe the intent is also to notify the public of their sponsorship on the Facebook page for the Parks and Rec Board as well. But no long-term signs.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You got it. Okay. On to new business.
We're gonna have a discussion and possible award of a contract to perform the 2025 road program. Mr. Whitman, could you speak to that?
Surely. As a result of the spring road inspection, there were several roads identified that needed work. And that would be for pavement repair and resurfacing of Brookcroft Lane, Brookcroft Place, Booth Drive, which intersects Bethel Road. Some surface patching on Zebley Road on either side of Falk Road, and some pavement repair around storm sewer inlets. So our office developed bidding documents and advertised, and bids were received last Tuesday. 6 bids were sent out or requested. We only received 2 bids back. However, they were very competitive and within a very tight margin. Incon, or Innovative Construction Services, was the low bidder at $165,167.50. And AF Damon was just $2,500 more at $167,572.50. We've worked with Incon on numerous projects in Bethel over the years. They're a responsible bidder and contractor. We had estimated this cost to be in the $190,000 range, so we're very pleased that it came in at $165,000. And I would recommend to the board, if they so choose to proceed with the road program, to award the contract to Incon Construction in the amount of $165,167.50.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to make a motion in that case to award the contract that Matt had indicated to Incon for the amount that you had indicated.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded by Supervisor Iacono. Is there any discussion from the board? Any discussion from the public on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Matt.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-18 in support of Vision Zero Delco.
I will second. Motion made by Supervisor Dervinessian and seconded by Supervisor Denny. Discussion on the board.
Mr. Chairman, I know a presentation was given earlier this year, but could we just give a brief refresh for the public?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it might have even been last year.
Maybe it's-
I
Yeah,
don't
It's
believe.
been,
It's a long
it's been a bit.
So the intent from this organization and this vision is to identify all the roadways within Delaware County and identify hotspots and potential strategies to mitigate future vehicular or pedestrian or bike or wheelchair or stroller accidents. So while it's not all outlined in the packet, I think there's just a few graphics. There is QR codes that go to what Vision Zero Delco is all about, but it's everything from striping crosswalks to defining standards for safer traffic circles. And in our packet, I think for Bethel Township, they have these things called roads of concern, critical concern, and that's roads that were identified where there were systemic fatalities. We don't have any of those in Bethel, so I don't know that there's going to be an immediate change to any of our striping or anything like that. But I think moving forward, should we adopt this resolution, we'd be taking in their best practices for any road developments.
It's my understanding too, that it also helps us if we are trying to do any roadway improvements and looking for any grant opportunities that we have adopted the Vision Zero plan from the county. So the county-wide, a lot of municipalities are starting to adopt the program. So the county spent a lot of time and a lot of effort doing all these studies and identifying these areas of concern, vehicular concern. So I think it's a great initiative.
Yeah, I think that the graphics show, and again, not for Bethel specifically, but the county overall, there's a disproportionately high amount of vehicular deaths just due to our congestion. So that's their whole strategy, is to try to figure out better solutions for getting, vehicles and pedestrians and bikers all to share the same space.
Just one more thing. I know it's later on the agenda, but would this be incorporated into the Bethel Road, Schaefer Park entryway? There's a lot of concern from the public about the safety of that.
It'll help us if we're going to try and look for grants for that road work. So it will help us to say that we've already adopted the Vision Zero program and identified that we want to make the roads in the township safer. So in that way, it does help. It's just a tool that gives guidance and identifies the areas. It's not necessarily going to, I'd say, solve all the problems. It gives some ideas and initiatives that townships can do to make things better.
But that guidance will be used when developed.
Yeah.
Yeah, beyond the financial opportunity for grants, it would also be those best practices would be utilized if this motion down the agenda is accepted, is the question, right? And I think the answer is yes. Yes, it would be moving from this point forward. Any other discussion from the board on this, from the public? Please.
I'm Ed Deischer, 1108 Old Post Circle. I apologize for my voice. My allergies are just kicking my butt here.
You sound great. I can hear you
I don't
fine.
think so. Thank you. I didn't know anything about Vision Zero, and I guess when I saw the new business on the agenda last week, I kind of looked it up and whatnot. And I found the press release. It looks like Delaware County adopted it in February, and they're the first county in Pennsylvania to adopt it. I don't know if any other municipalities in Delaware County.
Yeah, there's a handful, I think, that have, yeah. They're just starting to now.
Okay. I guess you already answered my question. We haven't had any fatalities, I guess, in Bethel Township in a while. I guess my fear was,
We have, but
We have.
it's it's like the way that the program worked is identifying like, I hate to say consistent fatalities, but yeah, like problem areas that are continually having that
Right.
sort of an issue.
If you think of 202 in Baltimore Pike, for example,
Right.
that's one of the labeled
Yeah.
areas. Concern is there's consistently accidents in that intersection.
No, I mean, I think it's a great idea, identifying, traffic problems and having crosswalks and all that kind of stuff. I guess the more I read through this and there's a lot of information out there and I went back to it 4 or 5 times and it seems like the more I read, kind of the deeper I got, and it kind of started to sound like there's 20 to 43 recommendations that the county has developed in this program. And while they're going to help you get financing to do these things, are they going to give you that money if you don't adopt their recommendations, I guess?
I don't think the financing is being offered through them. They're just saying, because there's all kinds of other opportunities for transportation, public safety, pedestrian crossing grants out there. It always behooves the township, just like it's good when we say we've adopted our comprehensive plan. When you apply for grants, the grant agencies want to know that you have done some planning or adopted some form of planning program and kind of thought about your future. So it's not necessarily that we'd be applying for grants through them, although if they offered some, I know they haven't lately, but we would certainly do that. So.
Right. I mean, again, just getting into this a little bit, I'm worried about the cost benefit of this. I mean, I think it's great. Who wants people to, die or be severely injured in traffic accidents? But when you go and read the press release, it's online. Its aim is to eliminate all traffic fatalities and severe injury crashes on roadways, which, I mean, who can argue against that? But then they go into the major initiatives and they don't get into the 20 or the 43. In fact, they're really hard to find, but safer road design, lower speeds, equitable enforcement. I know what enforcement is. I'm not sure what equitable enforcement is, and community education. I mean, I think, don't we maybe there can be more education, but, and then further down, it kind of gets into a discussion about how traffic accidents are not an individual situation, it's a public health issue. Like, I just, the deeper I got into this, the less I understood it and the more questions that I have. And I guess by supporting this, what are we doing? I'm not sure. Like, are we saying from now on, we're going to go through this when we do developments or road improvements or
Yeah, I think
whatever?
it's forward thinking that if we make any sort of roadway intersection improvements, if we have new developments coming in, we've had a couple new developments come in who've made some proposed changes to roadways. It's those times when we take that plan into consideration and try to make sure that we're, following some of that guidance. It's not saying that we're now going to go through every single road and start making all these changes.
Right.
It doesn't say that at all.
That would be
It's,
impossible.
for those future improvements that we're doing or future developments that are coming in, those are the factors that they're looking for consider.
Or if we had one of those intersections or areas that was
Yeah.
high risk, then they would be pointing to us and saying,
You should fix
this
it.
needs your preventative actions.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just, I wasn't, the more I read into it, the less I understood it. They talk about sidewalks being a major component, traffic calming being a major component, bike lanes being a major component, and mobility intersections being a major component. Those were the kind of 5 things that I saw in different locations. But they talk about adopting 20, as few as 20 and as many as 43 recommendations, but they never really got into what those, I couldn't find what those recommendations are. So I just wasn't sure, by voting for this, what we were supporting and what the cost was going to be. So thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments from the public? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, I have a motion to approve the Green Light Go upgrade project award to Lenai Electric Corporation in an amount not to exceed $211,213.20. This is for the signal upgrades at the 4 intersections in the township. TPD has reviewed the bid. they recommended the actual bid was $191,012, but they recommended a 10% contingency on our approval just in case final quantities changed during construction. So we went with their 10% recommendation. So the award would be $211,213.20. This is funded by PennDOT with our local match. In total, the project is slightly over what the grant amount was. So there will be, if Lenai, ends up going a little bit over their original bid, there will be a potential for a $24,000 change in that price from what the grant amount was. And that money could be covered utilizing liquid fuels.
Okay, motion made. I will second it. So motion made by Supervisor Iacono and seconded by myself. Discussion from the board on this particular one.
Just a question, Giovanna, so if we take the 10% off, are we right in the,
We're still slightly over.
what?
I
Think rough.
I think it was
So the
190,000.
total original budget was 241,700. That included, we already were providing a $48,000 match. So 193, yeah, it's I don't know, let's say
Well,
maybe 10 grand. It's hard. I don't have all the full numbers in front of me to see the breakdown for the PennDOT.
go ahead.
Yeah, so in summary, the grant was for 194,000 thereabouts. The bid is slightly higher. We already have our match built into it, but there's a recommendation from the Signal Group to give a little bit of buffer there for all the upgrades. And if we go beyond that, we anticipate covering that shortfall with liquid fuels.
Got it.
Any other question from the board or comment from the public? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, kind of tied to that, the next motion is a budgetary transfer. So with the receipt of grant funding from PennDOT and grant funding from DCNR for Schaefer, the grant contract, at least for the DCNR one, requested a separate account, interest-bearing account to track everything. So while we did it for Schaefer, we figured we would do it for Green Light Go as well. So I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 2025-19, a resolution of Bethel Township, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, amending the 2025 Township General Fund budget to establish a budgetary revenue account entitled PennDOT Green Light Go Income, authorize a transfer to it in the amount of $150,000 from the Greenways grant income, and increase anticipated revenue to that account by an additional $37,318.56. Establish a budgetary revenue account entitled DCNR CCP grant income with an anticipated revenue of $177,000. Establish a budgetary expense account entitled PennDOT Green Light Go expense, allocate $177,318.56 to that account. Transfer $29,782.89 to that account from the fund balance, and transfer an additional $40,679.50 to that account from the Highway Department Grant Fund account. Establish a budgetary expense account entitled DCNR CCP Grant Expense and allocate $177,000 to that account. Establish an effective date and repeal all inconsistencies. So essentially, and Peter, I don't know if you want to chime in here and provide any additional explanation, but we're establishing the money coming in from PennDOT and DCNR with a matching expense account to go with it. There was already some money budgeted for the Green Light Go in a separate fund, and we're moving that into the expense fund as well. So it's just
in broad terms, we're just establishing the revenue that's going to come in and the remaining expenses that are going to be paid out of each grant. recognizing both of the grants and requiring a few new accounts to be booked and to add towards our.
And for the DCNR one, we're gonna put a good portion of that money into Pliget so it can earn a decent interest
Yep.
in the meantime.
It's actually been tracked.
That's my motion.
Okay.
Second it.
Motion made by Supervisor Iacono and seconded by Supervisor Derrenessian. Discussion from the board. I know it was pretty lengthy, but I'm following along that it's financial housekeeping for line items so that we can track the payments in accordance with grant protocols. So I don't have any further comments on it. Anybody in the audience? Comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-20, adopting written procedures pursuant to Act 44 and appointing the treasurer as chief administrative officer of the Bethel Township non-uniform pension plan. Mr. Bars, would you give us some context for this, please?
Sure. I-44 is a kind law that requires any individual or company paid by a municipal pension plan to furnish a document to the municipality outlining if they have any conflicts whatsoever with any of the elected officials, any of the vendors of the plan or the municipality, or if they're giving any political contributions, which they are disallowed from doing. And so that has to be provided to us annually. And I believe we got one pursuant to our pension audit. And but we have an actuary, we have a pension investor, investment counselor that provided that annually to us. And in addition, I'll follow this up with Mr. Addison. They should be put on our website as well. And so I'll make sure that's done. The other part of that, I believe, was a recommendation by our consultants to have a chief administrative officer in place for the plan.
Yeah, it's actually a statutory requirement under Act 205, so we need to add that as well. I know Peter said it, I want to emphasize, we followed all the procedures. This is just sort of a documentation of the procedures that are required by the statute already. It's almost duplicative to have a policy that restates the statute, but that's the requirement of the regulations, so.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So there's a motion.
I have a motion.
I will second the motion made by Supervisor Derrenessian. Any other discussion from the board? Discussion from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, I would like to make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-21 for an application to the PADCED Watershed Restoration Grant for the Sharon Basin Retrofit Project.
I will second. So motion made by Supervisor Iacono and seconded by myself. I feel like we're pretty monthly. We're having these applications.
We're trying.
So
This one's actually being written for us by Millennium. I believe that was on last month's agenda to allow them to help us with writing it so that I'm not spending as much time writing grants.
so some of the questions that we probably have are, have we ever applied for this grant
This one we have not.
before? Okay, great. And it's typically, you may not know this, is it typically a 10% match?
It's actually coming up in our next motion. It is a 15% match.
Okay, well, that's all the questions I have.
Shut down.
Is there any other discussion from the board? From the public? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, and then the next motion I'd like to make is to adopt resolution 2025-22 for a match commitment to the PADCED Watershed Restoration Grant for the Sharon Basin Retrofit Project. This match commitment is a 15% match. The total project cost is estimated at $301,833.48. and the match commitment would be $45,275.02.
And I will second. Motion made by Supervisor Iacono and seconded by myself. Is there any discussion from the board on this? From the public? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Next motion, I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-23 to apply for a grant from the People, Parks and Community Foundation for the Schaefer Preserve.
Second.
Motion made by Supervisor Iacono and seconded by Supervisor Derovanessian. Discussion from the board on this one.
Just kind of following up to your previous questions, this is a new grant. We have never applied for this before. The total grant award is, if awarded, would be $30,000 and there is no match required.
Is the grant eligible for all types of expenses related to?
Believe it or not, it's really vague. There's not a whole lot of criteria for it. And I actually consulted with Millennium on this one as well. Debated having them write the grant. It's not very complex. There's, half a dozen questions we have to answer. So it's a pretty small lift. They are not very familiar with it either, because like I said, it's a new program. So, because I asked about what can we cover with the expenses, and I guess if we get awarded, we'll find out.
Is this a municipal program or is
No.
this a
It's just like
nonprofit?
yeah, I don't know if it's a private organization.
Okay, I have no further questions. Any other questions from the board on this? From the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, I got one more here. Motion to adopt resolution 2025-24, revising resolution 2025-11 to increase the matching fund commitment for the 2025 Department of Community and Economic Development, PA Small Water and Sewer Program Grant application for the Goodley Road Culvert Replacement Project. Basically what happened was, the project cost for the Goodley Culvert was over $500,000. We submitted for the total project cost. They're saying, they came back to us and said, our grant only awards $500,000, so we need to reflect your costs to, the grant would only provide $500,000, so you need to make up the rest of the match. So for us, let me get that number for you.
The difference is about $3,323.
There you go.
That's the match differential.
What we're increasing.
That's the increase in the
Yeah.
match.
Yep. Okay, that was a motion. I will second the motion. So motion made by Supervisor Iacono and seconded by myself. Is there any other discussion on this from the board? Any discussion from the public? Yes, please.
Kind of just, this project was on the hazard mitigation program.
I'm sorry. I apologize, Ray. You know how we got to do it.
He let you start talking too,
I-
on top of that. He teased you a little bit.
I apologize.
Figured if you got going quick
Right,
enough.
exactly. This project was on the hazard mitigation project for the township. However, with all the state funding, stuff like that, up in the air, we were pretty much told that anything that we had previously, is not going to work, until further notice. So just so you know that the awards that we were going for no longer exist.
Thanks. And for those that don't know, Ray is our emergency management coordinator. Any other discussion from the public? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item is the motion to authorize Chester Valley engineers to perform additional infiltration testing and design updates including regrading at Schaefer Preserve, not to exceed $2,737.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion made by myself and seconded by Supervisor Iacono. So the backstory on this, when we went and put out an RFP for a design for the Schaefer Preserve, it included infiltration testing as well as other stormwater management plans and layout. I think in the discussion with NALT, it was not with
That was
NALT,
with the Conservation District.
with the Conservation District, there was a request by them that we perform additional infiltration testing in a different area. Again, this is to try to make sure that we're correctly capturing stormwater runoff and it's not going into the creek below or behind the parcel. So this is an amendment to their existing contract. I will take, is there any discussion from the board on this?
Do we know additional areas that they want tested?
It's actually, it was on the plan that was presented to the public. They didn't originally test in that location. They thought they were going to be able to, they did testing around the site. They got some good infiltration rates, but in some areas they didn't. When they finalized or were trying to finalize all the calcs, they realized that they need a little bit more, when I get technical, volume. So they had a pre-application meeting with the conservation district, and the conservation district suggested testing in the basin they weren't originally going to use for infiltration. So they have one infiltration basin and one detention basin. So they're going to try and do the testing in the detention basin to see if it'll infiltrate.
So was that in the original scope of work, or
It wasn't in their original scope of work to do testing. They did the testing as what they called for, but because this is over and above, because they did not get good rates everywhere because it's close to the creek. And usually when you're close to the creek, the soils are not always favorable to infiltration. So they're testing in one additional location.
Any other discussion from the board? From the public?
James McDaniel, 1415 Zebby Road East. Is this something Knowles has to approve?
Who?
Knowles,
No.
they don't have to approve
They don't
it?
have to approve the infiltration testing now.
Okay. That was my question. I'll probably be up here at the very end. Hey, Dr. Bill, check them shoes out. My wife just bought them. The price she paid for them shoes, they'll never see a crick. I had them when I was a kid. But go on with this, I'll be up here at the very end because I have something I want to address. That's it. I don't want to jump out of sequence here.
Any other comment from the public? Yes.
To get out of speaking tonight, but Diane Smith, 1602 Wendy Way. So I'm confused about this. So they performed testing and it flunked in some places?
In some places it did, and in some places it did
So-
not. And that's pretty standard.
Didn't mention it, didn't bother to mention it in public meetings. We've been asking about this stuff. Why not?
It's not really relevant.
Well,
Oh, wait a minute. I have a house right next door. It is relevant.
Well,
If
they're,
it's
they're
not,
working on the stormwater design. When you do stormwater design, there's oftentimes areas that don't infiltrate. So you compensate in other areas, which is what they're trying to do. And that's why they're doing additional testing to make sure
Okay.
that they comply with the stormwater requirements.
I just think with all the public interest in this, maybe they should have been a little bit more transparent about what the results are.
I'm not even sure that
along
the
whole
results were
thing.
done when we had the public meeting.
Well, any public meeting, we meet every week, every month. So, I mean, I just think we should be aware of it because it's a very touchy subject and, I just think it gives the illusion that it's giving the picture that they're hiding something.
They're not hiding anything.
Well, how do I know that? And how does anyone else know that? Anyway, I'm not happy that I feel like they were hiding things from us now.
the testing company, the design.
Well,
engineers?
somebody, I don't know
Yeah.
who, but you guys or the Chester Valley Engineers, maybe, I'm not sure who, but I just feel that should have been said that the tests didn't stand up and we're gonna need to do more. Maybe that's what you're doing now. I don't know. I just think it's kind of funny that we're just hearing about this now. When were these tests originally done?
I don't have the date.
You don't know?
I think,
It was this year. I'm pretty sure it was this year.
oh, yeah.
In 25.
Well, I think the point is taken and,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? I think it's the point's taken in that if there are results that should be part of either discussions we have or on the website or
It's
otherwise.
just not something that we don't discuss infiltration testing on any project.
Agreed, but
The design has to comply with the ordinance. DEP has to approve it, and that's what they're trying to do. If they can't comply, then that's a whole nother story, but
so they're
that's a
making,
discussion.
they make an assumption that the soil can get rid of that
Yeah.
much stormwater in a certain amount of time.
Yes.
And so it's not necessarily a flunking, it's just performing less than what they had thought the soil would.
Yes.
When they did samples,
Yes.
soil samples.
Mhm.
So then they do the calculation of how much water they can infiltrate in a certain amount of time. And if under this new condition, it's less than the requirement needed, then they need to do additional testing to determine
Mhm.
if there's another area where we can infiltrate. Is it, and I'm not civil, but that's
Yeah, that's
generally the
generally
expression.
right.
So I don't want you to think that it was a failure. It was that the soil performed less ideal than they had expected it to based on the soil condition, which they knew from soil sample.
So these tests were done like up on the hill, is that
They
it?
did them in various spots throughout the site.
Right, but on the Schaefer site, really, nothing down.
Yes.
Nothing really down
No.
on the Goodley Road
No.
site.
They're trying to accommodate for all the stormwater on the Schaefer property.
Mhm. Okay, I've just been saying since day one, that I'm very worried about the stormwater. Because it is a problem there. It does flood there.
They will not be able to get a permit from DEP if they do not meet the stormwater requirements.
All right.
DEP will not issue it.
Uh-huh. We'll see. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries. Okay, the next item is a motion to authorize GD Hootman and Sons to undertake highway occupancy permit design for roadway modifications on Bethel Road for safe ingress and egress to Schaefer Preserve in an amount not to exceed $55,780.
I'll second that motion.
Excuse me. Motion made by myself and seconded by Supervisor Iacono. The backstory on this is through design development, the Chester Valley engaged with PennDOT and this is things we had discussions on the last couple of months, both here and in the public meeting, specifically Schaefer, about the frontage and the access to the Schaefer Preserve. So there's certain visibility requirements on the road. And through different discussions with PennDOT, the way that the road's currently constructed, it's not achievable. So the request from PennDOT is to modify the approach on Bethel Road to allow for better visibility. So independent of Schaefer Preserve, I think this is an improvement to the township, just because that's probably one of the blind spots on the roadways within Bethel. So I think the intent is to try to cut down the hill a little bit so that there's a little bit more visibility. So for folks from Sarum Farm, they can see up the road a little bit.
Yeah, Sarum and Stillwood would both get increased visibility coming out of their developments from it.
I would say this wasn't an anticipated additional design. Our hope, I think, starting the design process was that we would be able to utilize flashing lights to allow for the crossing, but that is not something that the PennDOT wanted to do. So they are asking us to go and do additional design. We collected bids from our township engineer as well as Chester Valley and a third consultant. And our recommendation would be to go with GD Hootman and Sons, who is our township engineer, who also was the most economical choice. Matt, could you speak a little bit, any additional about what the intent is on modifications?
I think he probably needs to meet with PennDOT and
Okay.
do his analysis. You're jumping the gun a little bit.
Well, a little bit. It's just as you were leaving the Schaefer Park, looking to your left, there's an vertical crest which limits the site distance below standards, which PennDOT is looking for. So you first have to go out and get accurate topographic and as-built information to see what's the best approach. You could shave off the top of the knoll. You could add pavement or height down toward the access from Schaefer, or a combination of both to get the most efficient design. But again, that will have to be, they'll have to wait to a preliminary as-built study before we make those kind of decisions.
Thank you. And these services are anticipated to continue from 2025 into 2026.
Correct.
And I know that it's a big dollar amount. And so the question is, well, how are we planning to pay for this? In one hand, our township engineer is currently expensed under budget. So we have a little bit of, what would you call it? A shortfall from what we'd budgeted for our engineering expenses to date. So I think there's an opportunity to pay a portion of it there. And the other portion looks like we should be able to utilize our DCNR grant for design services. So that's the intent, is to come out of our township engineers.
And we can also use liquid fuels if we needed to.
If there was, yeah, it would.
Because there's engineering funds budgeted in liquid fuels as well.
Yeah, so I guess the goal was not to come out of something that was not budgeted and not to come out of our reserve, but to utilize our engineering services account and then potentially DCNR.
Next year's dollars.
And
Well, some of it will be this year and some of it will be next year, because part of the bid is construction administration. So assuming construction is next year, or, could be next year, could be the year after, it'll carry into those years.
so there was a motion, a second, so I'll take discussion from the board. If there is any.
Just, thank you for the background, Mr. Chairman. I guess I dispute that this wasn't anticipated. I believe from the first meeting about Schaefer, everybody who's a non-engineer sat in this room and said they're scared to death of this turn and the dangers of that. So I believe this could have been easily anticipated. So to come here now and say this really wasn't anticipated, I think
It wasn't,
as a layperson, everybody knew that this was a dangerous road to try to have vehicles turn into. So I
correct.
disagree.
No, you're not wrong. We did talk about it. And, when we engaged Simone Collins and when we've had some other discussions with other engineers, the thought was we would be able to accommodate it with signage, striping, or like this chairman said, some flashing lights. That is often permissible by PennDOT. But when we actually did the calculations and they ran a speed study, cars are driving 10 miles an hour faster on that road than the speed limit. So the speed study and the grade of the road, PennDOT said it's too great to allow just a flashing light. You need to make a modification. So yes, we did anticipate, and it was budgeted to get a permit through PennDOT, but what they're asking is far in excess of what we anticipated.
Once again, as a layman, anybody here knows that people go 10 miles per hour plus on that road. So I don't think we needed a speed study once again to realize that. So I don't think any of this is unanticipated. I think
Okay.
everybody knew it was coming. I think it was held off to the last minute, so we were too far along to stop it.
Okay.
Well, I do know that there was a recent development across the street, and they
They had to do the same thing.
they had to do the same analysis, and they were granted to have no modifications required.
No, they lower the road.
They lowered the road there.
Yeah.
Okay. But not in both directions, just on the Bethel side, just on the coming from Folk Road side. Okay. Any other discussion from the board? From the public? Yes.
Want
This is why I was doing 1415 Sunday Road, James McDaniel. This 56 grand, is this just for the permit? In the study, or does this include the modifications? Because I can't
No.
believe you're gonna move. So if I'm gonna build a garage on my property, okay, before I apply for a permit, I have an idea how much that building's gonna cost me. So you're applying $56,000 on something. Do you know how much it's gonna cost to move the road?
No.
So isn't this kind of backwards?
Well, that will probably,
Suppose they come back and tell you it's gonna cost $2 million.
I mean,
PennDOT don't move
that's going to come
fast.
out of the study. That's how else
Yeah,
would
that'll
you?
be part of.
Yeah,
the-
but you ought to know what it's gonna cost before you apply for the permit. I don't understand where people are coming from. You know what I mean? I don't understand how you apply for a permit and all this, when you don't know the actual cost of what it's gonna cost.
Right, we're not applying for the permit first. We're going to do the design.
It says permit here,
Well, the design that can,
Well, the design leads to obtaining.
but
the
you,
permit.
yeah, but you don't have an idea. I don't know. I think it's poor management, and I'm gonna address this at the end of the meeting. But like I say, sounds like to me, you're looking at the design, you're applying for a permit. And the other thing, if you go on the internet with this new government we have in the White House, I think your grants are just about dried up. So this is gonna fall on the taxpayers. The taxpayers. I'm in good shape. My shit's all paid for, okay? Man, Sir Bonnie, do you pay a mortgage?
I'm not gonna get
Yeah,
into
all
this
right, you
every
don't pay a
meeting with you.
mortgage.
Every
A
meeting.
lot
with
of
you.
people pay mortgages, okay? And you're, to me, and the other thing, I think you keep voting against your party too. So when this gentleman ain't here tonight, you vote against them, you're voting against your party.
I vote for what I believe is right for this community.
Yeah. Well, you're spending people's tax money.
Is there any other comment from the public? All those in
Nope,
favor?
you got one
Oh,
more.
I'm sorry. Apologize.
Hi, Eileen Ming, 3225 San Fernley. $56,000 just sounds like a lot to find something out. So I was wondering what is behind the high cost of just doing the study?
Well, that would be to take the whole process through the permitting process. The initial steps would again be doing as-built existing conditions plan to design a remedy for the site distance and to coordinate with PennDOT. Now, at that point in time, there'll be a pause and the township will know exactly what needs to be done and the associated costs with it.
So a portion of the cost is actually for, after we obtain the permit, there's contractual obligations there, there's inspections that have to be done, there's construction administration that has to be done. So that part of that 55,000 includes work during construction. So it'll be a portion of work for design and then a portion of work for during construction.
I guess to the point of kind of putting the cart before the horse, can we do the study and do all those things and then decide if we want to put the money toward the construction?
Sure.
Well, we would have to.
We will.
Yep.
I mean, we get a
But I
cost
mean-
estimate, like, just like when we did the park design, we got a cost estimate of what that park would cost. We'll get a cost estimate from Matt once he finishes design of what the road improvements will cost.
So then why are we voting on the whole amount altogether?
To try not to come back, a bunch of times, it's
It's not a lump sum.
inclusive bid,
It's not a lump sum agreement, though. It's time and material. So if we would.
not to exceed.
It's a not to exceed. So if we didn't go forward with construction, we're not paying the services that were not rendered. He would just be under contract for those services should we need them.
So I understand that it's just, I think that I would feel better. I don't want to speak for other people. I would feel better if we were to decide to spend an amount of money that we know this thing is going to cost, and then come back and decide we're going to spend more money on the next step. Since you're going to have a pause in between to decide if you're going to go to the next step, like, let's have the money also be decided at that point to go to the next step.
Okay. Thank you.
Ed Platter, 1019 Belmont Lane. This isn't a criticism. I'm just wondering, has the board decided or put any time into what's a bridge too far with the Schaefer Preserve? At what point does the board say, if it gets to this, we're done? Because it just seems like, I know I keep coming here and others, and it's just, there's just so many variables or so many surprises or so many changes and difference. And I think you're just plowing ahead and I get it. But what's the bridge too far? When is enough enough? And you just say, it's not worth it. This is just getting bigger and bigger with PennDOT and road changes and deceleration. At some point, it has to not be worth it. So just something to think about.
Thank you. Sure.
Ed Deisher, 1108 Old Post Circle. Just a point of clarification. So the budget for Schaefer, $1 million, whatever that was, that had some improvement costs for the road striping or lighting or whatever, but that doesn't include any other work.
It did not include, it did not include any modification pricing to Bethel Road, no.
Okay.
Just the driveway construction in and out.
Okay, so if the road has to be regraded or whatever.
Correct,
that's-
that would be an additional cost.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to engage Marco Agostini at the rate of $50 per hour to provide training to the staff accountant.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Supervisor Derrenessian and seconded by Supervisor Iacono. Discussion from the board. I guess, can you just give a backstory, why we're bringing Marco in?
I think we're bringing Marco in to kind of make sure our current staff accountant is up to date with all the different things that Marco was doing when he was here.
Great.
No, you're good.
Does this have a do not exceed amount?
It does not.
Or what's a reasonable amount? So Marco, no offense.
He doesn't want to be here.
Marco,
He
but
honestly doesn't want to be here any longer than
I
he
know,
has to.
and it seems, so I, there should be some do not exceed. Seems reasonable to me.
Not to exceed 40 hours.
You want me to just, I mean, I don't mind, just go.
How many hours do you think you need to go through everything with her?
I mean, you don't. Let me go over with.
He's gonna explain why we need him.
Most of you have known me, Marco Agostini, for those of you who do not. I was a staff accountant here for about 20 or so months. I also worked under Peter Bars for this township for another about 16 or 18 months. So I like to think that I know a good bit about the money going on here at Bethel Township. I was talking to Donna a little bit today, going through some of the things that she needs help with. Couple of those I've actually kind of just written down. As far as escrow work, reimbursement billing, so money that would be coming back to the township that we are paying for. Quarterly reports, Parks and Rec reports, Board of Supervisor reports that you guys all receive every month. As far as the 2026 budget for next year, helping there where I can. Any modifications that are made to the 2025 budget, like that very long resolution that we had read earlier. And just
Hours went into that resolution.
yeah, I bet. I can't wait. And then any audits that we have, so we did already have our regular audit, our liquid fuels audit, but we have a workers' comp audit coming up. Any grant work, I'll be assisting in that as well. I've already talked to Donna about this. It's probably 4 to 6 hours a week, like nothing super crazy. You know, I obviously don't want to take anything, lightly here at the township. I, loved working for this township. I have absolutely no issue coming back to help this township. You guys were all great to me, same with the residents and all the workers here. So just want to help where I can and just continue to help, make this township great. So.
Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, if I could just add, there was a gap in between Marco and
Donna.
So he never had a real chance to train her, to show her, like even if it was just, a 2 to 3 week period, but for that. So, I would think it moved the township. She's doing good, she's picking up, but she's never really had municipal experience. She's had some good QuickBooks experience. So I think a little bit of help from Marco would be a good idea.
Any other discussion from the board?
I guess what's a reasonable amount?
I mean, 80 hours. Cap it there.
So that's 4 hours a week, that's 20 weeks.
Well, that would be 20 weeks at 4 hours. Go ahead.
I don't really need to use
I-
keep my
yes.
words.
I would start, I think 40 hours should be sufficient, because you're gonna do it on evenings, right? So he's got a full-time job, so you're gonna do it on evenings. And then we could gauge it at that point, but that should be covered a lot. You agree, Marco?
Yeah. I'm fine if we amend it to 40 hours max.
Okay.
Not to exceed 40 hours.
Okay. Any other comment from the board? From the public? Okay, do you mind renegotiating that?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to engage Marco Agostini at the rate of $50 per hour to provide training to the staff accountant not to exceed 40 hours.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Supervisor Derrenessian and seconded by Supervisor Iacono. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize escrow release request number 6 for the Bethel Ridge Garnet Point development in the amount of $91,490. Mr. Whitley, can you provide some context?
Sure, yes, as stated, escrow release number 6 from Whitebriar Homes, which is the Bethel Ridge development, also known as Garnet Point. The request primarily deals with on-lot seepage beds, which have been installed and inspected and stabilized. Some monies for topsoil grading and some monies for landscaping. So the total amount of the release request is $91,490. If this escrow release is approved, there'll still be $345,703 left in escrow, which is certainly more than enough to complete the project. We reviewed the escrow release request, found it to be in order, so we would recommend to the board that the request be granted.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Supervisor Derhinessian and seconded by Supervisor Iacono. Any discussion from the board? Discussion from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So the next item is a motion to authorize the solicitor to draft and advertise a request for proposal for insurance services. Backstory there is, we've kind of had challenges with our insurance company since I've been involved in Bethel Township. I think sometimes it's a little bit restrictive in what they will let us do and what they won't let us do. That's one aspect. I think there's also the responsiveness component when we need to engage them. Sometimes they're not as quick to respond as we would expect. And then most recently, when what we'll see is the next agenda item, when we had to renew our insurance coverage for 2025 into 2026, May 2026, we were given the details, and we're told we had to make a decision by close of business that day or the next day. Otherwise, we would lose our coverage. So that's some of the challenges that we've had. I think independent of that, I think it's always a good idea to evaluate your services, make sure that we're getting the best benefit for the residents. So the goal is to put an RFP out there and see if there are other insurance companies with more attractive rates and benefits for Bethel Township.
I guess, Mike, the question I have is if we find a different provider, are we contracted to keep Gallagher until 2026, or can we get out of that contract?
I believe that contract.
Okay, so this would be for next year.
Yeah, it's gonna take you a little time.
Sure. There's a lot of stuff that goes into our insurance policy for sure.
So I made a motion, looking for a second.
Second.
Motion made by myself and seconded by Supervisor Derhinessian. Any other discussion from the board? Any discussion from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then item O is the motion to ratify the renewal of township insurance policies through Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services LLC in the amount of $208,000, $208,000 and $277,000. 208. I can't do it. $208,277. Yeah, I tried. Yeah, so this is what we just discussed. I think the rough math was it was about a 10% increase over the previous year, although the coverage wasn't any different. So this is everything from our liability to our workman's comp to some of the protections for the police force.
Our cyber and terrorism.
Yeah.
It's pretty much soup to nuts.
Soup to nuts as in our event policies and everything go through Gallagher. So, yep, just making the motion there for the contract that was established that goes from May of 2025 to May of 2026.
Second.
Motion made by myself and seconded by Supervisor Derhinessian.
I sat there all night waiting for something that didn't happen. So now, we lost 2 hospitals. We lost a trauma center and a burn center, okay? I worked in a salt pure plant for 10 years. I worked for Sunoco 10 years, and I got a job in a scab shop in Jersey, and I retired. I can't imagine these people working these refineries without a burn center. There's one in Philadelphia, okay? You have a police department here. Where's the trauma center? The emergency guy back there, I don't know him. This is the first time I've seen him here, paying him $5,000 a year. Where's the report tonight? Concord Township has a report tomorrow night, and they have an ambulance, so it's a little different. But is he telling people what to do, where to go? Is he informing the retirement communities, the 55 and older people? You might be waiting for an ambulance. In my house, we took a dry run the other day from Zebedee Corner to Paoli Hospital because it has a trauma center. Are you telling people, or is he supposed to tell people that, hey, you call an ambulance, you're going to wait? Other townships are looking into third parties. This gentleman here worked for the township. He's gone. You got a revolving door here. I'm a union guy. I made $24 an hour back in 1980. Different work, $24 an hour. Police guy back there, his salary's probably a little more because he's cheap. Your policemen are making a cup of coffee more than your highway people. It's ridiculous. But yet we got all kind of money to throw in the Schaefer pit. We can throw 50,000, 75,000. Your secretaries, that woman there, the other one, their salaries are 10 grand lower, $10,000 lower than what they ought to be. You're lucky you find anybody to work for you. But we got money to throw in the Schaefer pit. A lot of them. There should have been a report tonight telling people how to deal with the hospital situation. There should have been a report tonight. $5,000 a year, sir. First time I saw you. Same thing with a fire marshal. You're paying them $5,000 a year. Where's the report every month? Where's the report for that $5,000? The fire company guy, Haycock, he don't get paid, right? He gives a report every month. You're paying these people when they don't even show up. They don't even give a report every month. What are we paying them for? I think, and I don't have nothing against you, sir. There's an absent here tonight how people are supposed to deal with the burn center going and the trauma center going. What's your advice? Call an ambulance and wait? You should have been up here tonight. Step up to the plate and do what you're being paid to do. If you can't do it, resign. I don't understand. People can spend money on the Schaefer property. Yeah, I'd be dumb looking too. The other thing is, we paid allegiance to that flag up there. World Day weekend. I don't hear nothing about the soldiers, the nurses. How about all the nurses that are out of work? Don't hear nothing about them. I ride around this township. I see all the posters on the telephone poles. I want them families to know. I see them people. I see their sons, their daughters, their husbands. I take notice. What do we do tonight? We forget about them too. That should have been in our agenda. But looking at that flag up there, it just comes routine. What about the soldiers? What about the police? You got firemen out there, no burn center. You run their ass all the way to Philadelphia? I don't hear that stuff. There's a big gaping hole in the way you people handle things. If it wasn't for the township maintenance department, I could bomb it right on the floor right now. You people stink.
Any other comment from the public? Thanks, Stephanie. Did you have something?
Then you got one more from Susan.
Deb DeSandro, 1654 Hance Lane. I just want to say that I think our board does an exceptional job. You know, they put in long hours and above and beyond their job during the day. So, you know, to hear this kind of criticism is, you know, it's not everybody's opinion. And, you know, keep up the good work. You know, we're behind you. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public?
We have a paper shredding and drug take back day. It's on Saturday. It's from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Used to go to noon, but now it's
Yeah,
back to
shortened hours on
shortened a
that,
little
I
bit.
know that.
It's outside the township building, so if you have things you need shredded or drugs that you need to dispose of responsibly, come on out on Saturday morning. That's it.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made to adjourn and seconded.